Hello, how you guys doing? Hope all is well. Welcome to the Messy Sweet Spot. I'm your host Gigi, and we have more information about Diddy. Now, you guys will not believe what's going on with Diddy and Wendy Williams, but this is what I'm hearing, and I do have the video here to back everything up. But you guys know, Diddy, he did not like Wendy Williams. He had like a hatred towards her. And they're telling me if Diddy dislike you, what he does is he gets someone that you really love, that you really care about, and he SA them. And they're saying that Wendy Williams, you guys know that her son is her heart. And yes, Diddy did the unthinkable. I'm not for sure if he actually did it. This video is going to tell us if he did or did not, but they are saying that he definitely tried to SA Wendy Williams' son. Now, you guys know Diddy has a thing for young boys, okay? Justin Bieber, Usher, the 10-year-old and another 10-year-old and a 9-year-old. And I mean, it's so many. So this video tells that story, and man, my goodness. And let me tell you, they are saying this, that Wendy Williams, the reason why she's very sick, whatever, they're saying that Diddy and Ray J have something to do with it. Are you? Yes, all right. So let's hear what they have to say, okay? Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel, The Messy Sweet Spot. And like I say before and always, I appreciate you guys for liking, sharing, and commenting. I really appreciate it, all right? So let's continue.
As the mother of a now 16-year-old.
Who I met backstage,
He did?
he's great young man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like the guardian has not done a good job of protecting my mom. As long as she has people around who are yes people and know that she's not getting the help that she needs or getting better, she looked confused and she looked skinny.
Oh, I never knew that. So that's why Wendy Williams got fired.
Yes, because having you got that.
I don't feel safe. Clap if you feel safe. Oh. Well.
So there's a shocking new development involving Diddy and Wendy Williams. And word on the street is that Diddy actually threatened to do the unthinkable to Wendy's son Kevin Jr. when he was just 16. Now, if you're a longtime Wendy fan, you probably remember that infamous 2017 interview on the Wendy Williams Show, where Diddy made this creepy comment about meeting her son. At the time, this seemed like an innocent comment, but fast forward to now, and there's a lot more context around Diddy's pattern of targeting young men. Diddy was recently hit with new disturbing lawsuits from 3 different men who claimed they were just 9, 10, and 17 when Diddy allegedly victimized them.
New allegations against Sean Diddy Combs, and these are some of the most horrific yet. A man says he was just 10 years old when the rapper allegedly drugged and sexually assaulted him during what was supposed to be an audition, sending him back to his parents crying.
And now on top of all this, some new reports are surfacing from the ongoing federal investigations, alleging that Diddy planned to do the same horrific things to Wendy's son Kevin Jr. to punish Wendy for exposing him. And if you go back to that interview and carefully watch Wendy's reaction, you can see her face change the moment Diddy mentioned her son.
As the mother of a now 16-year-old.
Who I met backstage,
He did?
he's great young man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You represent a lot to a lot of people in general. I mean, example to people who aren't black, like, yes, we can. Yes, we can.
But here's where this story gets even more sinister. Ever since that interview with Diddy, Wendy's life has taken a downward spiral. From fainting on live TV to having all her bank accounts frozen and being placed under guardianship to ultimately being diagnosed with dementia and a speech disorder. All these things happened within a span of just a few years. And how convenient is it that Wendy lost her iconic talk show just before all these Diddy allegations exploded in the headlines? Was it all just a coincidence? Or was it Diddy's evil plan to push Wendy out of the spotlight before she could reveal too much? And what exactly did Wendy's son reveal about Diddy allegedly threatening him? Let's get into it.
I've got so much money. I want it for my son. I want to give some love to my son, Kevin. It's me and you, kid.
If you're an OG Wendy Williams fan, then you know her beef with Diddy goes all the way back to the 90s when Wendy was a radio host. Wendy never shied away from putting rappers on blast, and that included Diddy and the rumors about his DL lifestyle. But Wendy wasn't just talking. She had the receipts to back up her claims, and she allegedly got her hands on some photos of Diddy with another man during a trip to Cancun. However, before Wendy could even spill the tea, Diddy had her fired from her show and pretty much blacklisted her across New York, warning every radio station in the city to stay away from her.
When she put out those pictures of the dude pulling his pants down, and it looked like some gay act that was going on, he got on the phone. He said, let me tell you this. When I get back to New York City, if she's on the radio station, he's talking to a radio executive. When we got back to New York City, Wendy Williams was in Philly at a new station.
Wow.
That's the power he had.
Wendy later pretty much confirmed the whole story in an interview on Vlad TV and said she was burned at the stake for talking about the number of closeted men in hip-hop.
We come from a very homosexual era of hip-hop as well. There was a radio personality once upon a time. Her name was Wendy Williams, and she was practically burned at the stake for talking about such. And now it's all come full circle. There were many situations, none of which to talk about, but there were many situations back in the day in my career. And it's all coming full circle now. So,
but that's not all. An old clip recently resurfaced where Wendy claimed that Diddy actually sent a girl group signed to Bad Boy to ambush her at her job.
yeah.
I remember I got off the air one day and them the total were downstairs waiting, and everybody upstairs at the radio stations looking down, get it on, waiting for something to go down. I wasn't yet married. My knight in shining armor screeched up in his car just out of nowhere. I didn't even know what was about to happen.
And then Jaguar Wright joined the chat to remind everyone that Wendy was the first one to publicly expose the so-called homo thugs in the industry. But Jaguar didn't stop there. She also went on to suggest that Diddy most likely set Wendy up, just like he allegedly did with his ex Kim Porter.
Is that him or is that
Shout to Wendy Williams, the first woman to uncover the homo. That's what these down low was called when Wendy first started talking about it in the 90s, the homo thug. She talking about Diddy.
And then what's the stuff that's happening with Wendy Williams? Do you think this is all connection too?
Of course. They've been waiting. He's been waiting. He was waiting for Kim. Remember? He was waiting. The casket was ready. She was literally casket ready.
But see, Wendy wasn't just gossiping about Diddy's rumored double life. She also reportedly had the inside scoop on his alleged crimes. For example, Wendy openly questioned the 99 nightclub shooting case, where Diddy was accused of setting up Shine to take the fall.
He ran out of the club so fast and got into the waiting SUV that it wasn't until he got into the truck that he realized that he left Jennifer behind, along with his bodyguard, Anthony Wolf. He just ran. Forget it. That's a true sign of an itch bag, by the way. Leaving his
I thought it was an unk bag.
Well, eventually, Jennifer and Wolf made their way to the SUV without Puffy.
Right.
They ran 11 lights to elude the cops. Supposedly it was Puffy, although people are saying they saw a female hand tossing a gun out the window. And then when the cops stopped them, they found a second gun, of course, in the car.
Right.
4 of the occupants, the driver, the bodyguard, Puffy and Jennifer, were handcuffed and taken down to the precinct. And eventually Puffy and his bodyguard, Wolf, were overheard talking about their plot to bribe the driver to take the rap for the gun. And Puffy was overheard saying, and I quote, because the prosecutor said this, "I can't go to jail, I'm Puff Daddy." Well.
And once Wendy moved from radio to TV, Diddy practically became one of her go-to topics.
Okay, he was arrested with a deadly weapon. And and making terroristic threats.
Wendy also didn't hold back when it came to Cassie and Diddy's relationship. She would often bring it up on her show and drop hints there was something seriously strange about that whole setup.
Cassie, 8 years wasted, no baby.
But that's not all. Believe it or not, 3 whole years before Cassie finally broke free from Diddy, Wendy was already raising the alarm about Diddy's controlling behavior. So back in 2015, Cassie and Diddy were reportedly hitting a rough patch, and rumors were swirling that Cassie had to jet off to South Africa to get away from him. And Wendy actually talked about this on her show, and she even suggested that Cassie must have been terrified, knowing that Diddy could track her down anywhere in the world and use his influence to cover up anything he wanted. For 2023, and Cassie finally dropped that bombshell lawsuit against Diddy, basically confirming everything Wendy was hinting at for years. Cassie said in her lawsuit that she tried coming. Back in 2017, just months before Cassie finally managed to escape, Diddy actually showed up on the Wendy Williams Show. And on the surface, it looked like they had finally buried the hatchet. They were laughing, joking about their past beef, and it seemed like they were all friendly again.
I know I pissed a lot of people off, including you.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a full circle movement, everybody. Get into adult conversation.
Yes.
But now that Diddy has been officially indicted on multiple charges, that same interview on Wendy's show feels like a completely different story. And if you really watch Diddy, it actually looks like he was silently warning Wendy to stay in her lane and not cross him.
I must say it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
And I want to just tell you how proud I am of you. Because I don't think you get enough credit for being the first one to really cover our culture, you know, hip hop culture and also hip hop celebrities and just understanding that it's news, not just saying that's all that you cover, but you started shedding light on our culture and our people, and thank you very much.
And then when Diddy mentioned meeting Wendy's son, Kevin Jr., you could practically feel the tension in the air. Wendy immediately got uncomfortable and tried to quickly change the topic.
But now 16-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Who I met backstage, it's great young.
Cute. You represent a lot to a lot of people in general. I mean,
people think that Diddy said this to intimidate her because, I mean, we all know Wendy knew a lot about what was going on in Hollywood. If you haven't watched this interview, I suggest you do, because I couldn't believe how much Diddy was lying throughout this entire video. He was actually dating Cassie during this time, and when he was asked about his relationship with her, he made it seem like they had a perfect relationship and that he really loved her. During this interview, she also asks him about Biggie's death and if he feels responsible, and this is what he said.
Do you ever feel responsible in any way?
I mean, the thing I always feel some sort of, you know, responsibility because I'm in this thing with him. You know what I'm saying? He's my artist, and he was supposed to go to London that night, and you know, I let him talk me into, you know, not going to London and staying in LA. And that, you know, that's something that really bothered me, you know, throughout my life, is sometimes you have to really go with that decision in your gut. And in my gut, I was like, you need to get on the plane. But sometimes when you don't listen to your gut, you know, and this is God's world, you know, it's his plan.
But if you go and check out Gene Deal's interviews, he was Diddy's former bodyguard back in the day, and he was there when Biggie died. And he says that Diddy was responsible.
So looking at everything that happened to Wendy after this interview, it really makes you wonder, did Diddy play a role in making her health issues worse? And how did Wendy's son, Kevin Jr., react to all this speculation linking Diddy to his mom's health issues? So to give you some context, Wendy's son previously alleged that some people in Wendy's team were pushing her to drink and allegedly gave her contracts to sign while she was under the influence. In June 2023, Kevin Jr. told the son, if they aren't providing it, they are definitely enabling a type of personality and giving her the green light to drink. Once I heard that she was agreeing to stuff around her rehab, I thought, well, okay, they are taking advantage. Now, in case you're out of the loop on Wendy's guardianship, in January 2022, while Wendy was dealing with the fallout from her divorce from Kevin Hunter, her bank Wells Fargo froze all her accounts. The bank claimed Wendy was an incapacitated person and they even went so far as to petition the New York Supreme Court to appoint a financial guardian for her. But then things took a twist. Wendy's lawyer spoke out and claimed that Wendy's former financial advisor, Lori Schiller, lied to Wells Fargo about Wendy's condition.
Wendy went to Wells Fargo and said, I'm closing my accounts because I think you're colluding with my business manager to steal from me. Y'all, just stay with me. Instead of investigating these claims, one, Wells Fargo sued to gain financial conservatorship over her by calling her crazy, and they won. Do y'all not realize how crazy that is? And what does that mean for everybody else who banks with any of these big companies?
According to Wendy's lawyer, Wendy previously fired Lori Schiller due to improper conduct, and Schiller wanted to get revenge on Wendy, and she allegedly started providing Wells Fargo with fake evidence that Wendy was in desperate need of a guardian. That's when Wendy's lawyer asked for a temporary restraining order against Wells Fargo, claiming that the bank was interfering with Wendy's right to access her financial assets. And then Wendy also spoke out and called out Lori Schiller and Wells Fargo, accusing them of unlawfully blocking her from accessing her money.
When I began asking questions about my money, suddenly Lori Schiller has got no response regarding my money. I want my money. This is not fair. And Wells Fargo has no questions and answers with regarding my money. This is not fair. And Lori Schiller and Wells Fargo have this guardianship petition about keeping me away from my money. This is not right.
However, in December 2022, the court sided with Wells Fargo and appointed attorney Sabrina Morrissey as Wendy's financial guardian. Now here's where things get even more sketchy. The first thing Sabrina did was to cut off Wendy's only child, Kevin Jr., despite Wendy previously making it clear that she wanted all her money to go to her son.
We have the best time. When I die, everything is for him.
And then Kevin Jr. decided to break his silence, and he even said he was worried Wendy could die because she's surrounded by people who don't have her best interest at heart. Kevin claimed that Wendy's team is very aware that there is an issue with her drinking and how that issue may be helped, but they're not doing anything because their number one priority is making money off of Wendy. Kevin also shared that every time Wendy tried to get help for her drinking problem and checked herself into rehab, her handlers would follow her there and use the opportunity to get her to sign different contracts. Kevin also pointed out how Wendy's financial guardian Sabrina was close friends with her manager Will for years. And according to Kevin, this whole thing looks like a setup. According to Kevin, Sabrina refused to communicate with him about his mom's condition, and they even kept him in the dark about Wendy's whereabouts. Kevin also added, I'm praying that whoever is in control now doesn't ruin whatever hope it is for her to get back up again. Now, what's also sketchy is that it recently came out that the court refused to appoint Wendy's only sister Wanda as her guardian, and for some reason they insisted it should be Sabrina.
Would I consider being guardian? I said, I don't know what being a guardian involves. I was told that it involved taking some kind of class. I said, yeah, I'll do it. I said, whatever I got to do. And, I'll be focused on Wendy's health. And then all of a sudden, the wall came down and there was nothing. Now, why that happened, I don't know.
So now Wendy's fans are putting the puzzle pieces together, and many of them are convinced that Diddy pulled some strings in New York to get Wendy under the guardianship of Sabrina Morrissey. But what's your take on this? Do you think it's just a coincidence that Wendy got diagnosed with dementia shortly before all those lawsuits against Diddy started piling up? And how do you feel about that comment Diddy made about meeting Wendy's 16-year-old son? Was this a direct threat to Kevin Jr.? Drop your comments below, but don't go anywhere because there's more to this story. And we're now hearing that Diddy also allegedly tried to set up Wendy to be raped.
The feds just released some fresh and shocking evidence of more alleged crimes that Diddy allegedly committed, and they are claiming that he allegedly tried to take Wendy Williams out multiple times in the past. And when that didn't work, he allegedly arranged for her to be SA to teach her a lesson for crossing him and trying to expose him. Everyone knows Wendy Williams was the queen of daytime TV and exposing shady celebs because she built her whole brand on being iconic for that. But apparently Diddy wasn't having it, and according to the feds, he allegedly tried to have Wendy taken out because of what she had said about him. This low-key explains why Wendy and Diddy have been at odds for a long time. The feds are claiming Diddy's been sending people after Wendy for years, even after she stopped talking about him. This is just the latest in a string of messy allegations against Diddy, and it seems like the feds aren't letting up anytime soon. The new evidence they dropped about him allegedly coming for Wendy is shocking, but the full story goes deeper and wilder than that, because it's shady AF. You know how folks have been begging for Wendy Williams to make a comeback and spill all the tea on Diddy, especially with all these lawsuits and people finally calling him out for his shady ways. Well, it looks like the feds are finally giving us a little something because they just unsealed some major info about Diddy and his sketchy relationship with Wendy. If you've been keeping up with Wendy before she left her show, you'd know she and Diddy were never exactly besties. They've had beef for years. Sure, they tried to act like they squashed it a few years back, but according to the rumors, Wendy's been holding a grudge against Diddy for like 32 years, and by the looks of it, she's not letting go anytime soon, not even in her 6th state. Before we get into the feds' latest claims about Diddy, let's rewind and break down how this whole drama started. Wendy has been holding on to this grudge for a while now, and she has good reason to. Apparently, Diddy not only got her fired and almost ruined her career, but she says he also put her life in danger, allegedly sending people after her. Back in the early 90s, right around the time Diddy launched Bad Boy Records, with big names backing him in Hollywood, Wendy was working at Hot 97 Radio, and it didn't take long for things to get messy between her and Diddy. At the time, Bad Boy was loaded with talent, artists like Lil' Kim, Biggie Smalls, Faith Evans, and the girl group Total. Diddy used Hot 97 as his go-to spot to promote his artists. But when Wendy started throwing shade and giving some not-so-flattering takes on him, Diddy was not happy about it. Even though Bad Boy Records was still new at the time, it was already making serious waves in the music scene, so it's no surprise Diddy wasn't feeling Wendy's criticisms. Now, the mature move here would have been for him to sit down and squash the beef with her, right? But as we've all learned by now, Diddy doesn't exactly do diplomacy when it comes to people he sees as his enemies. Instead of having a civil convo, the word is that he allegedly took a more sinister route and had his girl group Total jump Wendy. And from what we've learned about Diddy so far, I guess we shouldn't be so surprised that was what he chose to do.
I remember I got off the air one day and them Total just were downstairs waiting, and everybody upstairs at the radio stations looking down, getting on, waiting for something to go down. I wasn't yet married. My knight in shining armor screeched up in his car just out of nowhere. I didn't even know what was about to happen. Skell hiding like a girl. It's Skell. I'm standing in the door like, what? And I'm literally about to go through now. I'm not like, what, let's fight, because I'm not one of those type of broads.
1 minute, you're feeling on top of the world after signing with a major record label, thinking your dreams of stardom are finally coming true. Then out of nowhere, you find yourself having to defend your boss because someone said something that hurt his feelings. This is just one example of how he used his artists for things they never signed up for, which lines up with what the feds revealed in the indictment documents against Diddy. I'm referring to the part they said, for decades, the defendant threatened and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his intimate desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, forced labor, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. It's kind of crazy how this has been going on for so long, right under our noses, isn't it? Now, Total wasn't the only group caught up in his mess, because Shine had it worse since Diddy allegedly set him up to be sent to jail over the 1999 club shooting involving Diddy, Shine, and Diddy's then-girlfriend, J-Lo. While Diddy faced some serious charges, and it looked like he might be heading to Jai at first, those charges mysteriously disappeared and Diddy walked away free. There were reports that he allegedly threw Shine, who was with him that night, under the bus and let him take the fall. According to his former bodyguard, Diddy allegedly paid witnesses to testify against Shine during the trial.
Those people were testifying, they were brought to Puff first, saying that what they saw against Shine, what they saw Shine do. The DA didn't even know those people existed. You understand what I'm saying? Shine said it himself, yo.
The wild part about this is that Bad Boy Records then dropped Shine when he was in prison. Shine also confirmed that Diddy had betrayed him in a 2020 interview where he said, Puff apologized. He did apologize to me for that when we met in Paris. He did say that he could have handled it better, but he was under a lot of pressure from the lawyers to throw me under the bus. According to the feds, Diddy had a habit of treating his artists like pieces on a chessboard, using them to handle his dirty work, even if it meant clashing with his ops. Luckily, Wendy had her then-boyfriend Kevin Hunter keeping an eye on her when Total tried to jump her. Let's be honest, Wendy's got a sharp tongue, but when it comes to throwing punches, that's not really her game. Facing off against 3 members of Total would have been way too much for her. But like I said, Wendy wasn't going to let a little confrontation like that silence her. And if Diddy thought a close encounter with Total was going to keep her quiet, he had another thing coming. Wendy came back even stronger, turning up the pressure on Diddy and spilling more tea than ever as a form of payback. Wendy hit back hard, and I mean really dirty. Just a few months after she nearly got jumped, she clapped back by leaking a photo of his son, Justin Combs, hanging out with his biggest rival, Suge Knight, which was super embarrassing for Diddy. If you think the tension between Diddy and Suge is fierce now, just imagine what it was like 30 years ago. They were right in the middle of that infamous East Coast versus West Coast rivalry, and the hostility was everywhere because Diddy and Suge had nothing but pure hate for each other. And speaking of Diddy, he was dealing with his own mess at the time. He was flat out denying he was Justin's father, claiming he wasn't the dad and accusing Misa Hilton of trying to trap him with another man's child. It's wild to think Diddy was throwing shade like that when there were reports surfacing about him mistreating Misa. According to Gene Deal, he wasn't exactly being gentle with her. Allegedly, he was putting his hands on her, and it was pretty brutal.
So we just solved that for you, because
Misa was out there. She was messing with the dude from EPMD. That's why Puff first beat her ass.
It's completely shocking that Diddy would even assume Misa would pull something like that, especially considering the alleged mistreatment she faced from him just for talking to other guys. But hey, that's Diddy for you. Always eager to protect his image at any cost. I mean, this man blew up Kid Cudi's car because Cudi had a thing with Cassie after she broke up with him once. He has always been very big on protecting his image, so when Wendy leaked that photo of his son chilling with his biggest rival, Suge Knight, it hit him hard. But things took a turn for the worse when rumors began to spread that Wendy had an even more explosive picture in her possession, one that could seriously damage Diddy's reputation. Back then, just a hint about a rapper's sexuality could be a career killer, and Diddy definitely couldn't handle that kind of scandal. Then came the final nail in the coffin. Wendy teased on her show that she had proof against him. Word on the street is that someone close to Diddy let him know what that evidence was, and he lost his mind. Reports say that Diddy and his crew hit up some beach or island paradise for a wild party with a bunch of girls. But there was allegedly another guy involved, and not just any guy, if you know what I mean. It turns out that Diddy wasn't exactly pursuing the ladies on this trip because his interests were elsewhere. Rumor has it that someone took a picture of him in a pretty compromising position with the guy with another dude pulling his shorts down. That pic was like a ticking time bomb just waiting to explode his reputation. Diddy immediately sprang into full damage control mode, racing to shut Wendy down before she could leak that photo and destroy his image for good. According to Gene Deal, Diddy used his influence to get Wendy fired from her position at Hot 97 before she could expose him. Remember when I mentioned that Diddy used the station to promote his artists and their tracks? Well, Gene revealed that Diddy threatened to pull all his artists' songs from rotation at the station, but that wasn't all. He also warned that none of his industry friends would ever promote their artists on Hot 97 either. Diddy had some major clout in those circles back then, so when he said he would do it, you better believe he meant business.
Puff got one of the hottest DJs off of Hot 97 because she wanted to put up a picture of him getting his pants pulled down. You understand what I'm saying? Puff had power. For whatever reason, dude was playing with Puff. He went behind him and grabbed his trunks and pulled them down. When he grabbed his trunk to pull it down, some girls that was taking pictures. They took that picture and emailed it back to Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams said she had him in a compromising position and like he was gay or something like that. And she was gonna put it out. So they stopped her from putting it out.
And they got her fired from Hot 97 because of that.
Wendy has also talked about this in the past, saying that Diddy tried to burn her at the stake for trying to expose him.
Wow. There was a radio personality once upon a time. Her name was Wendy Williams, and she was practically burned at the stake for talking about such.
Wendy's now ex-husband, Kevin Hunter, also spoke about this in an interview, revealing just how close Diddy came to ruining Wendy's life and her career.
Is it true that Diddy got her fired on the radio station? Did he have anything to do with that?
I think that he had, yes, I think he got, well, let's be clear, nobody got fired.
Okay.
He got suspended.
Okay.
Yeah. Did he use his influence and power with Steve Smith and them at the time, and God knows whatever his relationship was with the overall station, because Bad Boy was a powerhouse. We all know how Bad Boy dominated a large part of the 90s. And as far as New York, you know, there was a powerhouse. So was he, you know, King Joffrey Joe? Yeah. Did he go in there and shake him up and say, yo, you know, I want this chick off? This is my group and all kinds of shit. Yeah.
Diddy was completely serious about silencing Wendy, no doubt about it. And you know what's really messed up? Wendy used to be one of his biggest supporters, even on the very station where he had her let go, and she was always right there backing him, even in some of the darkest periods of his career. In December 1991, long before Diddy even launched Bad Boy Records, he and rapper Heavy D teamed up to host a charity basketball game at the City College of New York. It was meant to be a positive event, raising funds for AIDS foundations. But things went sideways when the venue was oversold, resulting in a tragic stampede that took 9 lives and injured 29 others. Diddy faced a ton of backlash for that event, especially after it was revealed that the money supposedly raised for those foundations never actually reached them. Some of the charities even claimed they had no idea Diddy was fundraising on their behalf, which was just another level of shady. At the time, the media really came down hard on Diddy, but Wendy was one of the few voices in his corner. She defended him, suggesting it was all just a misunderstanding and asking fans to give him a chance to redeem himself. However, the moment Wendy began to expose some of his shady dealings, Diddy wasted no time turning on her. He pulled out all the stops to try to derail her career, and for a while it seemed like he succeeded. But Wendy bounced back, and when she did, she came back swinging, particularly when it came to Diddy. She made a series of shocking claims that left everyone shook, and was the first to reveal that Diddy had stolen Biggie Smalls' publishing rights. People have been talking for years about how Diddy tends to get his artists to sign contracts that ultimately screw them over. But Biggie wasn't a fool. He understood the game and made it clear from the very beginning that he wanted complete control over his masters. Diddy knew Biggie was destined for greatness and that other labels would snatch him up in a heartbeat. So he acted like he was on board with Biggie's wishes, but behind the scenes, he pulled a fast one, tricking Biggie into signing documents that effectively stole some of his publishing rights and gave them to Diddy. The worst part is that after Biggie passed away, Diddy held on to the masters that Biggie rightfully owned. He pretty much robbed a dead man, which is about as low as you can get. He kept those masters for years and only just returned them to Biggie's estate last year. In case you missed it, Diddy announced that he'd be giving all his former artists their full masters and publishing rights to the songs they recorded under Bad Boy. He made it sound like he was being generous, claiming he was a changed man going by the name Brother Love and wanted to right his wrongs, blah, blah, blah. He said, "It's just doing the right thing." I think that we as an industry and as a people have to look in the mirror and make a shift forward. It's about evolving, leading by example, and reforming an industry that needs it, in a world that needs reform. I'll tell you one thing that I do want people to know. This was done like 2 years ago. Everything just got taken care of now. It's not a publicity stunt or anything like that. On one hand, he was right that it wasn't merely a publicity stunt. In reality, he leveraged the situation to coerce the artists into signing a strict NDA that prevents them from ever discussing what they saw or heard while working at Bad Boy. This was a sneaky move, especially since he knew Cassie was about to file a lawsuit against him, and he was trying to buy everyone's silence. So if you're wondering why none of his former artists have come forward to share their negative experiences, this is why.
To all his artists, when he gave them their publishing back. I'm gonna give y'all publishing, but y'all can't talk about Janice Combs, Justin Combs, Sony, Bad Boy, or anything that happened. Y'all can't talk about none of that.
However, some artists weren't willing to go along with Diddy's plans. Take rapper Mase, for example. He saw right through the deception and refused to sign any NDAs. But then again, Mase and Diddy have had a strained relationship for years. Mase has openly stated that he ghost wrote many of Diddy's lyrics during his time at Bad Boy Records and claims that Diddy still owes him a large amount of money for his contributions. Diddy, on the other hand, dismissed these claims, insisting that Mase didn't make that much money while at the label. But honestly, that's hard to believe when you look at Mase's accomplishments. 5 platinum singles and chart-topping hits in just a few years. On top of that, there are rumors that Diddy blackballed Mace from the industry, making it nearly impossible for him to sign with another label after leaving Bad Boy. This might explain why Mace struggled to achieve the same level of success after he left Bad Boy. But wait, there's more. After Mace decided to leave rap and become a pastor, Diddy went on talk shows and gave interviews where he threw shade, calling Mace a fake pastor. Mace was living rent-free in his head.
Mace thing, you know, I did one album with Mace. One album. How much money do you think I owe this guy? One album, and then he became a fake pastor and went and conned people.
It feels like every time someone comes forward about Diddy, it only strengthens Cassie's lawsuit as well as all other lawsuits that were filed against him. It turns out Cassie wasn't just making empty claims. Her allegations are being corroborated by various sources. And we can't overlook Cassie and Diddy's breakup in 2018, or should we call it Cassie's getaway. Wendy had some interesting insights about the whole situation, hinting that there was a lot more happening behind the scenes in that relationship. One thing about Wendy is that she always had her ear to the streets, allowing her to see right through Diddy's BS. After Cassie broke free from him, Diddy attempted the whole romantic approach, publicly pleading for her to return, claiming she was his one true love and that he couldn't live without her and all that supposedly cute stuff. He posted a screenshot of Michael Jackson's song, "The Lady in My Life," and he wrote, "If anyone sees it Cassie this weekend, please tell her to listen to this song 100 times. This post had us in out feelings because we thought that he was genuinely in love with her, and he was sad to see her go and wanted her back." While everyone else saw it as romantic, Wendy saw through the facade and called him out on it. She suggested that he had been quite controlling with Cassie and that the situation wasn't as it appeared.
I suggest don't use social media, though, to reach out. I think this was a grand overture from Puffy. I don't believe he really wants her back. I believe he probably treated her at some particular point like a possession, like a possession. And if you really care, then you'd reach out privately, not publicly.
And was Wendy right about that? In Cassie's lawsuit, she claimed that Diddy always managed to find her no matter where she hid, and he would sick people on her to try to find her. She said, Ms. Ventura left her home in Comstock and went to hide away at a friend's home in Florida. James Cruz, president of Bad Boy Management, tracked Ms. Ventura down and told her that her single would not be released if she did not answer Mr. Combs' phone calls. A woman who worked at Sony Music reached out to her with a similar ultimatum concerning her record. Incredibly, Mr. Combs even convinced one of his attorneys to call Ms. Ventura at this time. This lawyer told Ms. Ventura that it's in your best interest to call Mr. Combs back. Each time Ms. Ventura tried to run away, Mr. Combs and his powerful network would force her back to him. So yeah, Wendy been clocked this tea about Diddy, so it's no surprise that Diddy hated her guts, and they had that long-standing beef. According to the feds, Diddy allegedly made moves to permanently delete Wendy to prevent her from exposing him, but she was lucky enough to get off alive. Unfortunately, her body took a lot of damage, and coupled with the fact that she already had underlying health issues, it did not turn out well for her. And that probably has something to do with why she is still struggling with her health to this day. Well, fans have all the smoke for Diddy after these revelations, and they left comments saying, "This don't surprise me one bit because I know Diddy did it. He had everything to do with Wendy Williams and her radio show and made Cassie shave both sides of her head bald, and she had depression afterward. Diddy man, under the jail ain't enough." I honestly believe they messed Wendy Williams all the way up mentally because she was the only media personality who was not afraid to expose Hollywood, especially all that's happening right now with Diddy. And I just imagine Wendy Williams smirking at home while all of this info about Diddy is coming out. She's hated him for decades and tried to tell the music community that the call was coming from inside the house.
Honey, when I tell you guys, wow, all the stuff that he did to Wendy Williams, that is why she's in the situation she is now. You know, he had it out for her and her son. And you guys know Wendy Williams, her husband, I saw this on Tasha K. Okay, she interviewed a man that was working underneath Wendy Williams' husband, and he said that Wendy Williams' husband is zesty too, that him and Wendy Williams' husband was doing a do all over in her bed and everything. She was with a down low man this whole time. Isn't that crazy? It's like all of them are gay. You know, but comment, I want to know, what are your thoughts about this? Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe here at the Messy Sweet Spot, and I'll see you guys on another video. Bye.